Sam Amick is having to put up with this nonsense. He's a legitimate writer for The Athletic, senior NBA writer. I'm sorry. I'm exhausted, Sam. It's an exhausting job putting up with this nonsense.
Listen, man, as you know, Colin, I'm here in Northern California. If you want me to get some Niner fan neighbors to come weigh in, I can do that. I'm with J-Mac. Give Brock some love, man. Give Brock some love.
So I want to talk about this because you just wrote about the Warriors. And one of the things we've talked about recently, Sam writes for The Athletic, is that usually post-Jordan, Bulls are awful for 3 years. Post-Duncan, it's really hard. LeBron leaves the Heatles. There's always this reboot where you're bad, you get better draft picks, and you start over. The Warriors are in this interesting situation where the rookie pods can push Klay to the bench, where Klay's a great bench player. Kuminga now is flourishing. Steph's still great. Draymond's playing some ball, and Wiggins has kind of figured it out. He was choppy early, pretty good. And I look at the Warriors. So you recently wrote about this. This is hard. Legends to the bench. Steve Kerr, Klay Thompson. Were they worried at all that it was just going to implode the locker room? Were they concerned?
Yes, I think the answer is yes. Klay's an intense individual. I think there was frustration right out the gate when they made the choice. Strangely, I give a hat tip to Andre Iguodala. If you go back to 2014, which is a lifetime ago, Andre makes that choice to go to the six-man role. Steve Kerr convinces him. That sets the culture for the Warriors. Klay was part of that. And from then until now, they have had a culture of sacrifice that Klay is now having to live up to. But yeah, I think they were worried because he's a proud dude. He fought like hell for 2 years to come back from the ACL, the Achilles. We've seen earlier this season these moments of vulnerability where he shares with the world how hard it is to not be the guy that you were before. And then you come out, or I guess right before the All-Star break, they tell you, hey, what do you think about the six-man route? I think they were worried for sure.
Yeah. They don't match up terribly well with Denver, but nobody matched up with Duncan and the Spurs for about 12 years. I said this, I don't know if it's good for ratings. I don't really care about that. We don't have the NBA at Fox. I don't care. I like watching playoff basketball. But when I watch Denver, in a league where we always talk about mobility and all-stars, they've had one all-star in forever, Jokić. They're perfectly constructed between length, IQ, perimeter, bench scoring. I'm okay saying this. When I watch them dismantle people, when they really zone in, I think we're looking at, for the next 3 to 4 years, the best basketball team arguably since the Spurs and Duncan. I mean, I think they're better than the Heatles. I really do, and I may be over my skis on this. How are they viewed with your sources in the league? How is Denver viewed?
It's like somewhere, it's right. They're not dominant. That's the thing. They're respected. They are, feared to an extent, but they're not dominant. If I'm being honest, last week I'm in the Warriors locker room and I had a casual conversation with Draymond about this. Now, listen, we know the way he's wired. Yeah. And he made the point that league-wide that they're not afraid of anybody, and he has given nothing but love for Joker recently, has a lot of respect for him. But I brought up Boston and Porzingis, and he was kind of poo-pooing what they're doing. So the fear factor is not there. But Denver, I think they changed last year when they won that thing in June. They are wired differently now. Yeah. They are, as dangerous as anybody. So could I see them winning the whole thing again? I could. Boston to me, is obviously at the top of that conversation, especially with their story and their journey of falling short 2 years ago. Porzingis, I think, is in the middle of that discussion. He's never been part of a team like this. But Denver, Joker's absurd. Jamal Murray, like I wrote last week, might be the best guy in the history of the game who's never been an all-star. Yeah. Their chemistry, incredible. They lost some depth in the summer, as you know, and that remains a question. But yeah, they're right there.
It's really interesting. When Drew Holiday went to the Celtics, I remember being on that day and saying he's a much better offensive version than Marcus Smart, who I thought was a good player, but sort of had served his purpose. And I thought, but I had no idea, and everybody loves Drew. He's one of the more respected guys in the league. I had no idea that he was going to leave this hole in Milwaukee. Because Dame's such a great perimeter scorer. Are you surprised? Are people in the league surprised that Drew, it's a lot of the same pieces, Dame for Drew, and Milwaukee doesn't feel and look quite right. Are you surprised by that?
I'm not stunned. Did I think Dame and Giannis was going to work better than it has? Yes. But I feel like we have learned for so long now that, the simplistic star power perspective in terms of, take this guy and that guy, put him in a pot, and it's magic, is just more often than not, that's not how things go. And I was around the old Bucks teams a lot, and I saw the value that Drew brought every single night. And I was there covering the finals when they beat Phoenix, and Drew Holiday was right there with Giannis as an MVP candidate in terms of big moments. It was a very, very nuanced trade, the decision by Milwaukee to go after Dame Lillard, because you let go of a guy in Drew who was part of what they accomplished and was still playing at a high level. So, we'll see where it goes. Doc, I think, has had a good influence so far, coaching wise. Their defense has gotten a little bit better. But that relationship, Giannis and Dame, and finding chemistry has been pretty challenging.
So LeBron, Paul George won't play tonight. Lakers, Clippers play tonight. I think Knicks, Warriors is tomorrow. So it's been a very good week. I saw a story yesterday. Brian Windhorst said LeBron's going to sign an extension. It's going to be, 50, 60 million, whatever it is. And I said, LeBron takes so much oxygen out of the room. There's only been 4 guys, in my opinion, since the 80s who have been the face of the league, where they were the best player for several years and they leaned into it. And I think that is Magic, Michael, Shaq, and LeBron. I never felt Kobe for an extended period was best player in the league. He always felt a little MJ light. Plus, Shaq was so magnificently interesting. His size, his personality. He even shrunk Kobe a little. And I think to myself, LeBron still remains the face of the league to a lot of people. International players don't necessarily seek the spotlight. They don't lean into it. Do you think, what do you think LeBron and the Lakers, I don't think they're moving off him, but how viable is he on the market? I mean, what do you make of him and the Lakers? Would you think they'd sign him to a 3-year deal, a 4-year deal? What is his future in this league?
So I believe, and hopefully I think I'm accurate on this, he's actually capped out at a 3-year deal because of the over 38 rule. So, there's a limitation there in terms of how long the contract can be. Market-wise, listen, I wrote last month about his flirtations in New York when he was sending all these passive-aggressive signs that he might be unhappy with the Lakers and wearing Knicks-colored shoes and things like that. But then immediately you're reporting, okay, by the way, the Knicks had not spoken about him internally. He's not in their plans. Dallas is a team that in the past has, internally shown some interest in maybe going down the LeBron road. But now I think with Luka and Kyrie, that's a different calculus. It is a really unique situation because he's LeBron, like you said, face of the league, maybe the greatest player ever. But the market, I don't think, would be all that robust. And I think that's why he looks at the Lakers and knows my family's here. The market, entertainment-wise, business-wise, is what I want. The Lakers need star power. They don't want to come off him. It's a little bit of a marriage of convenience that like Brian Windhorst has said, I do expect to continue most likely.
Yeah. Hey, finally, we've been talking about this for the last, I would say, 3 or 4 days. Wemby's got a little Sam Bowie, a little old school George Gervin, the length, he's got this sort of delicate touch around the basket, but can play with power. He's a combination of a lot of people. But again, these international players come over here, Sam, and they are all business. They want sleep, practice. It's the reality is when you travel, if I travel overseas, I'm not ad-libbing. I've got a schedule. I stick to it. I do what I do. These kids come over. They are all basketball, all business. And I don't know. I knew he would be good. I think he's better offensively. I knew he would block shots. I think he's a little better offensively than I thought he would be. Chet Holmgren, also with his length, is better offensively than I thought early. What are you hearing about Wemby around the league?
People are amazed. He's living up to the hype.
Yes.
Now, personally, I do struggle with the idea, and maybe this is the inevitable kind of backside of all that hype, is that I thought he'd be able to come in and have more of a LeBron type impact on winning. You know what I mean? And you see the guy coaching him on the sideline, of course, is nothing but a winner. And I am surprised at how bad they have been collectively. I know the roster's, not the best, but they just have struggled all year long. And I actually think the next 5-6 weeks are going to be interesting in the Rookie of the Year race. Halfway through the year, I had Chet winning it. Now it feels like if you vote for Chet over Wemby, you're getting it wrong in terms of the narrative. Yeah. Because he has been that good individually. But my God, Chet is an incredibly important player on a team that might win the West.
Yes.
But Wemby's great. his personality is fantastic in terms of media. Such a bright guy. Like you said, he talks about going to bed at 9:30 at night and putting his phone on. By the way, I should interject real quickly. I think Luka is one of the outliers in terms of international guys. I think Luka likes to get after a little bit and has fun. But yeah, I mean, he's been great, and you talk about a ceiling. This guy doesn't have one, and I can't wait to see what's next with him.
Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.